The following is a segment from Session 3 of the Honestly Better Mental Fitness Show. If you would like a list of all the segments and full sessions, please visit honestlybetterfitness.com/list. That's honestlybetterfitness.com/list.
Welcome to LH Industrial's Honestly Better Mental Fitness. I'm Mike Lomberg. I'm the president of LH Industrial, standing in the middle of a breezeway in the shop in Tempe, Arizona, to get an idea of what we do behind us here. I found mental fitness a few years ago, and it changed my life. It's changed my family's life. And now we'll bring it to all of LH Industrial and recording it to put it out for us to hearing. Thank you for joining.
All right, so the body's response to stress. And when I use the word stress, we might as well just replace it with fear. I think stress is the socially acceptable word. I'm stressed out because I got so much going on, or I got all these deadlines, or I got all this, or whatever it is. And really, what are we saying underneath that surface? I've got so much going on that I don't know if I can do it. And if I don't do it, oh man, then all these things are going to happen. Right? I'm afraid of this potential outcome in here.
That's fascinating. I'd never heard it put that way, but that's really good.
And when we're using the word fear or stress, it's some sort of perceived threat to our survival, right? And then the next question is like, okay, most of the things that people are stressed out about don't have anything to do with survival. Like, nobody's going to execute me at the end of the week if I don't get this thing done or whatever it is. At least I don't think so at LNH, but maybe you guys operate differently. So then, public speaking is a huge fear. And here we are asking people to pop on and share and talk, right? And it's like, oh, no, not me. All right, if I ask you to sing, anybody want to sing for us? You, right there, number 4 on Zoom face. Can you sing a song for us right now? I would feel awful. Like, I would feel like I was going to die, right? But then, we go quickly to this, feeling like we're going to die. And most of us aren't dealing with lions and tigers and bears, sort of like our body is designed to combat, essentially. Not totally true, though, actually. Most of us are dealing with more of the social emotional threats and less so like physical threats. So how does my body interpret speaking on a Zoom call, or giving a presentation, or screwing up something on a project, as some sort of threat to my survival? And essentially, we are social creatures. We need each other, on a practical, realistic level. And I teach wilderness survival. I've spent a whole lot of time alone out in the woods and that sort of stuff. My military background as well, and in search and rescue. And I know one person alone in the woods is not safe. Who's got your back when you're sleeping? What happens if you get sick? What happens if you break a leg and you can't get water? On a practical level, we need each other. And on a deeper level, on an emotional level, we need each other. There's studies with primates that if they remove one from the group and give them everything they need, entertainment and food and shelter and all that kind of stuff, always they end up withering away and dying. And I think studies on people of long-term isolation, of landing, crashing on a deserted island, first you're trying to figure out how to survive, and then you have to figure out why to survive. And I think that second one is worse. And a worst punishment that we do to people is solitary confinement, right? And it's completely alone and isolated, and it is absolute torture. It is horrendous. And so rejection by our peers can, exiled from the group, we're a small band of people trying to survive on the plains of Africa somewhere, and you get exiled from the group. 1, your physical likelihood of survival is low, and 2, without the group and without that connection that we all need, our chances of survival are low. And even if we figure out how to, we might not want to. And so when a rejection of our peers on a social level is quickly goes from, oh no, if I speak up in this call and people think I'm an idiot, then all these chain of events happen, and our nervous system quickly goes to, and I'll end up alone dying in a desert. Like that's how fast it goes from, like, 0 to 60 here.
Mhm.
And our body's response to stress is not conscious. I'm going to talk about the nervous system for a second. So the nervous system has, think of it as two main branches. There's the stuff that's in my control, right? Like I can say a middle finger wave or wiggle or move my arm under control, but I can't say, okay, heart, slow down. Like I can't tell my immune system to really kick up because there's a cold coming, or my digestion to hurry up because I have a meeting and I want to digest my food real quick. Like I don't have control of a lot of things in my body, and our emotional system and our nervous system is one of those. With like crazy deep meditation, actually people can control really cool things, and that's where you hear about the monks meditating in the snow and just melting it all around them. And so you can, with great practice and control, but for the most part, no, it's not in our conscious control. We're not choosing. I think our hot oven is an example. Maybe anxiety before you got to give a speech or a presentation or something like that. And the same thing, like I'm anxious and I know being anxious will make it worse. So body, don't be anxious. Don't be nervous. I'm like, okay, it doesn't work. And then actually a lot of times, like recognizing that I'm nervous makes me more nervous, which then becomes this like whole downward spiral or fear or whatever it is right there. So, the autonomic, you can think like automatic, that's the part of us that we don't have control of. And the somatic is the part that we do have control over. In the autonomic, the part we don't have control over, there's two main modes, and there's actually a little bit more, and we'll get into that detail, but for now, and it's essentially, am I currently safe or am I not safe? That's what it's looking for. Like I'm safe, I'm in this mode of rest and digest and all that kind of stuff, or am I not safe? And if I'm not safe, my body's ramping me up for whatever it is that's making me unsafe in this moment. If I feel stress, if I feel fear, if I feel any of those things, my body is kind of recognizing some sort of threat. Breathing, if you've worked with me individually and I've given you breath work type of stuff, or if you've done it in the past, like is so powerful because it's a bit of the top-down approach. I can't, because breathing lives in both parts of the nervous system. Before we talked about breathing, nobody was thinking about breathing. Nobody was consciously breathing, but we were all doing it, right? And now that we start thinking about it or talking about it, we probably are like, oh yeah, how am I breathing? Am I breathing shallow? Or we're probably changing our breath a little bit. And so we can take control of our breath, and we can let our body take control of our breath. So it lives in both systems. And so I can't make myself feel calm when I'm anxious, but I can breathe as if I was calm. When I'm anxious, I'm breathing fast, I'm breathing shallow. And I can't change the way I feel, but I can change the way I breathe, and changing the way I breathe changes the way I feel. My body's like, oh, we're breathing slow. It's that top-down approach in there. And so there's all sorts of really powerful body state changes that you can control through your breath. Through exercise stuff that's really powerful, to like deep meditation stuff, to getting through your workday, through stress management stuff, through dealing with difficult things. And it is why I'll bring it in sometimes. But that's what it is. Think of your breath as the gateway to your autonomic nervous system, or the gateway to the subconscious things that you don't have control over.
I used that huff and puff breathing that you sent out before I went to my meeting with TerraPower yesterday morning.
Oh,
and
cool.
It was a total game changer. And you wouldn't think that huff and puff would be pre-meeting, but it just energized and it put me on fire.
Awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. That's great. Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. It's been studied for thousands of years, and there's so much ancient wisdom to, hey, this breath with this does this thing, and all sorts of really, really profound things. And the VA, I work with a bunch of veterans, and worked with a doctor in there that's really well connected with it, and PTSD. And they studied medication and all these different things, and they figured out that if you do this one breath, like it took care of like 80% of the problems just by doing like 5 minutes of this breathing pattern twice a day, for a period of months. Shifted things, measurable things within their body, like stress hormones in their blood, in their body, like massive biological and physiological changes happened as a result of 5 or 10 minutes of breathing a day.
I completely believe that, and I used it to regulate my blood pressure. I've got this app called Othership that has a bunch of different breathing, and it's got breathing that puts you to sleep and breathing that runs you up.
Right.
What I found interesting is it doesn't seem to matter. They have the up and the down and do this before a meeting. It doesn't seem that just doing the breathing puts you in a whole different state for your day. I don't need to be too hung up on which one I do. If I just do one of them, it's awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
There's an app for that as usual, right?
Yes.
Or YouTube has a bunch of free ones if you don't want to pay for the app.
Yeah, Mike, got a question from the audience. What exactly was the name of the app again? How do we spell that?
Othership, OTHERSHIP.
Okay, let's dive into those two different modes. So this is the autonomic nervous system, or the part of your body, your nervous system that you don't have control of. And we talked about there's two main modes, like, is it safe or is it not safe? That's kind of what it's concerned with here. So when you are feeling safe, supported, connected, open, we're like our two zebras here in the grass. They're happy. It's you and your significant other or your friends or your kids hanging out in the park. Everything is good. Everything's taken care of. Everything's great. It's called rest. It's the parasympathetic nervous system. You don't have to get caught up in the words, but if you're you like to, or that's what we're talking about. And so when you're calm and peaceful, is your heart rate up or is your heart rate down? Down, right? Is your breath rate up or your breath rate down? Down, right? Blood pressure down, all that sort of stuff. When you're in this mode, your body is focused on restorative functions, repairing your body, and long-term health. Your digestion works better, or works. Your blood pressure is lower, is down. Your immune system is up and functioning properly. Your body's able to restore and repair, and kind of burnout leads from not spending enough time in this state and spending too much time in the, oh my goodness, there's lions on the horizon state. The more we train this, and a lot of the breathwork stuff is training this, the more we can affect long-term change, not just temporary. And I think that's why I brought the VA study in, because it's like, oh man, so I got to spend all my day paying attention to my breath. Well, on one hand, it's like, well, yeah, you probably kind of should. It's a little bit of an important thing of how you breathe. So spending time on how you breathe is powerful. And no, like spending a little bit of time has long-term effects and changes, not just temporary. So it's associated with feelings of peace, flow, calm, tranquility, social connectedness, flow states, all those things that we talked about. Like, we do our best work when we're in that place. All right, so we're in the other mode. We spot lions on the horizon. Our heart rate is up, right? Our breath rate is up. Our blood pressure is up. Our body is mobilizing all of our resources to deal with an immediate life threat. If you're about to get run over by a truck, digesting your steak, recovering your muscles from that injury, and keeping your immune system up is not the priority. Divert all resources away from any non-essential function of life to pump it to the muscles, pump it to everything else to get the hell out of the way of this truck, because that's all that matters right now. Unfortunately, most of us spend way too much time in this state. And a lot of our modern day diseases are associated with an overactive sympathetic response. If you spend a lot of time feeling stressed, tense, exhausted, nervous, worried, or irritated, you are in a sympathetic state.
You're spending too much time watching CNN or Fox. It's set to get you in that state. That's why so many people nowadays are spun up. They're being fed all of the stuff that scares you, and it feels good for a minute, but then pretty soon you're just scared all the time and you're in that stress. And both are good, but use them in moderation and be able to turn them on when they're useful to you, not when Fox or CNN wants to get your attention and keep your attention, right? So a lot of people, including myself, I don't watch that stuff anymore. Matter of fact, I turned it off on my phone. I don't want to know what's going on. If there's something bad enough happening in the world, somebody will come and tell me. I don't need to sit there and obsess about it all day. And a lot of the brilliant people that I hang out with are doing the same thing. Just turn that junk off and control your own life, and neither are good or bad, and you need both. You want to be the one choosing which one you're in, and you don't want to be in that stress mode all the time, because it'll put you in the grave early and it'll make you miserable while it's taking you there.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a great book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And we're gonna kind of dive into a little bit more of the biology deeper in here. But you nailed a really great point right there. And one of the underlying principles in there is zebras kick into this system when lions are present, where humans kick into this system when we think about lions. And that's the CNN, right? Like, it's all these things probably aren't ever going to have an effect on your life, or there's something somewhere else in the world. And so we're stressed about all these potential things that could possibly happen, as opposed to preparing ourselves if it does. Like, if it does happen, then kick into that system, right? And I have it in red and in blue, but the red system is not bad. Like, it's great. If you're about to get chased down by a lion, that's exactly where you want to be. You're stepping into cold water. That's a little bit where you want to be, right? Like, you need to be aware. You're about to jump out of a plane. Yeah, you should have your heart rate up and your blood pressure up, and because to be fully alert, fully ready for action for whatever it is. Staying in that state is where the issue is, which is you brought in CNN, right? If we work all day and then come home and sit there and watch the news and we see all these bad things and we're kept in this state as well, then we're in this constant state. And then probably burnout and stress and exhaustion is one of the things I hear about most, like all the time. And we're all feeling that way, and it's because we're outputting too much and not inputting.